Thank you, John, for the warm introduction. And thank you all for choosing to come to this session today. I am delighted to have the opportunity to present at the ETE conference. We're at the start of our school year, and always an exciting time where we get the wheels grinding again, and we share ideas and prepare our classrooms for our students. So we know from the research that social emotional learning strategies can bolster motivation, increase focus, and just support the needs of our students. And so I am bringing today some strategies that you may find to be useful in your classroom. As noted with the keynote, the fantastic keynote speaker this morning, some things may work for you and your pedagogical teaching style. Some may work for your context. Some may work for your students, and some may not. So I invite you to think about this with a wide lens, and maybe there are offerings that you can amend or adapt some of these practices to work best for you. So the scholars have looked at the growing need to recognize teaching in higher education as cognitive, emotional, and embodied work. If you've written a dissertation, you know this, right? Insert the tears, the bloodshed, and all the missed celebrations that you've had. Here we're going to think about ways that not only can enhance our well-being as the educator in the classroom, but how can we support our students during these 2.5, 3-hour classes that they come to, and for some of us, maybe even in a late evening session. So a little bit about me. I am an assistant professor in the School of Teacher Education and Leadership. I primarily teach elementary and early childhood literacy education. I am hosted out of the Salt Lake campus, and I also started my tenure track path in August of 2020 during the height of the global pandemic. So for me, when I think about context, when I think about my passions and things that drive my work, I am really in tune with wanting students to be able to feel like they can show up as their fullest selves in the classroom. I want them to be able to feel comfortable to challenge assumptions, to question the conversations they're having with their peers, but also to approach the situation with an open mindset. And so we, in the classes that I teach, we attend to social and emotional learning and wellness as a top priority. So to give a little bit of context here, I have taken a 200-hour yoga and social emotional learning facilitator training. And so this was specifically designed for educators. So looking at my work, I'm working with elementary and early childhood teachers who are going out into the classroom. We know what burnout looks like, right? Sometimes we feel it as instructors in the college classroom. Well, I want to help keep the conversation going of how we can prevent some of that burnout before our pre-service teachers get into the classroom. And so some strategies that I use in the college classes that I teach, the students can directly take it into their classrooms in the elementary and early childhood level. So you can see I was leading a workshop that I hosted down in Salt Lake with some pre-service and practicing teachers doing some mindful movement. A quick little movement break during a long learning day helped re-energize, give focus, and bring motivation to the conversations. So let's just get started here for 1 minute and pause. And I want you to take a second to just think about 3 things that you're grateful for. We know there are many psychological, physical, and social benefits to the practice of gratitude. And this can be an opening where you start your class. Let's say you are teaching over IVC or Connect. That's usually how I teach my courses, right? I have up to 16 sites that I'm servicing, and so students may log on to Zoom, and this is a great opening just to get the students getting to know each other and just having that feel-good moment. Sometimes people even write, I don't have anything to be grateful for right now, I'm having a hard day. And that just draws us in to know this is what the space is gonna look like today, and that is okay, however you're showing up. Does anybody want to share something they're grateful for? Something you thought about? Yes?
My family.
Yes, wonderful. Another person or two?
My health.
Your health, absolutely. What our bodies can do. Another person. Yes?
Air conditioning.
Oh, yes. And when you walked outside after that first session, it was a blast, right? Well, this is a simple practice that we can insert in any part of the class, and it helps us also get to know our students, creating that sense of belonging and awareness of things that are important to them. So I teach a lot of non-traditional students. Many of the students that I work alongside are teaching full-time in a classroom, and then they come to class to me at night. I teach from 7:15 to 9:45. So thinking about wellness and movement is a really important part of our conversation, because some of the students are hanging on by their fingernails by the time they get to me, right? And I want to provide a space that helps them feel welcome and energized. So the learning outcomes today, you'll explore social emotional learning and wellness practices that can help build community, encourage agency, and foster creative expression. You'll consider ways to strengthen the individual and collective well-being of the students you work alongside. You'll engage in some practices that will increase energy levels, and you will engage in social and emotional learning that you can use in your own classroom, or perhaps adapt in a way that best meets your teaching needs. So I invite you to take together 3 collective breaths. So you may choose to close your eyes, or cast a soft gaze, or maybe just find a focal point in the room somewhere. And I want you to just draw attention to your breath. You may even put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. And just notice the rise and fall. Perhaps your mind feels full of attention. Maybe you're drawn to a lot of different thoughts about syllabus planning or what you're going to have for dinner. That's okay. You just acknowledge those thoughts and bring your awareness back to your breath. Let's take a deep breath of gratitude in for showing up here today, and exhale. Another deep breath of gratitude in for this learning community, and exhale. And one more nourishing breath, maybe the deepest one you've taken all day. And exhale. Let something go that's not serving you. Sometimes when we start our classes, the students may have had something that happened right before they show up, maybe with family, maybe they're stressed about an exam that they just had. This is a really calming practice that can reduce stress, enhance awareness, focus the mind, and it only takes about 1 minute or so, right? Think about when you might be able to use that to help support your students. So we can relate to this, right? Sometimes we're on the left side of the image, and sometimes we're on the right. Our goal is to be on the right? We want to feel relaxed, aware, elevated, focused, but that's not the case, right? Especially here we are at the start of the semester. We're thinking our minds are going a lot of different directions, and we want to make sure that we show up in all areas of our life, but sometimes we forget to be in that present moment. And so some of these practices just take a minute or two, and they can really bring that calm, centered focus back and help us feel more grounded. So I might ask the students at the start of the class to describe in 2 words how they're showing up. And if they say worried or rushed or distracted, we want to validate how they're showing up in this space. We're not going to all have that positive, perfect moment of being ready for class. And so when we draw attention to that, then it's okay for everyone to say, you know what, if so-and-so isn't speaking up today, you may know why, because they had this challenging circumstance before class, or they just need a moment to just focus and regroup. So it's okay to bring this awareness to the space and invite that common humanity, right? That sense that we all show up in different ways. So what is social emotional learning? I'm just curious, by a show of hands, how many are familiar with CASEL and the 5 competencies? Okay, thank you. So CASEL defines the SEL as you can see listed here, the lifelong process through which all people learn, apply culturally responsive knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals. Feel and show empathy, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. We all want that, right? So the CASEL stands for Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, and it's a nonprofit organization that focuses on advancing the development of academic, social, and emotional competence for all students. But this carries on from our itty-bitties all the way up into adulthood, right? So these competencies are important for all of us. So the way that CASEL interrelates these is there are the 5 competencies you can see in the center, and then this transcends out from our classrooms to our schools, to our homes and our communities. So many schools and districts and countries use the 5 to establish learning standards and competencies that articulate what the students should be able to do and could be able to do. When we define each core separately, we can also see that they're all connected to one another and interrelated to these outer circles. So let's take a look here. Breaking it down a little bit further, we have the 5 listed. So self-awareness is about understanding our emotions and thoughts and how they influence our actions. This includes reflecting on personal and social identities and examining our biases, right? When we're in a heated conversation in our classes about some philosophical underpinning, we want to create space where we can tease out our own subjectivities and examine our own biases. So this skill directly translates to what we want our students to be able to do, right? Heightening that self-awareness. Self-management's the ability to manage emotions, thoughts, and actions in different situations to achieve our goals. Maybe we have students who are from differing backgrounds and they're paired in a small group conversation and they have really different experiences and they're having a hard time seeing each other's perspectives. If we bring this heightened awareness to social self-management into our conversations, we can start to peel back those layers and let the students manage themselves, but also show up as their fullest selves in these conversations. Same with social awareness, is how we understand different perspectives and empathize with others. This includes understanding broader systems and institutions that influence our lives. Relationship skills are our ability to build and maintain connections with others. So this includes communicating clearly, collaborative problem solving, and standing up for the rights of others. So we want our students to be able to communicate clearly and effectively in the large group of our class, in smaller conversations. Perhaps you have a group work assignment where we may need to bring to the conversation, what does collaborative problem solving look like? So everybody shows up and contributes equally for their part of their work. And lastly, responsible decision making is how we make these caring and constructive choices for ourselves and others. So that includes analyzing the impact of our actions and identifying solutions that support our collective well-being. So in our college classrooms, we want to foster inclusivity. We want to welcome differing viewpoints, and we want to be able to examine our own biases. If we bring these conversations to the forefront, it can become easier to overcome some challenges that we face. So looking at the research here, social and emotional learning absolutely supports academic development. Cipriano and others wrote about how students who participate in SEL have stronger feelings of inclusion and belonging. They have greater classroom support, build better relationships with their teachers. So maybe you can identify with one of these, going back to the keynote speaker, as one of your values, right? Maybe you want the students to feel supported. Maybe you want this environment to have strong relationships. Academic instruction that makes social and emotional learning connections also result in this deeper long-term learning. We don't want our students just to learn what they're learning in this context of the class. We want them to learn it far beyond after they leave us. And we certainly know that students participating in SEL have these decreased emotional stress. We see so many situations with our students, right? I know I'm servicing a very non-traditional population. Last semester I had a student who was 73 years old. He just graduated and he's a coveted third grade teacher in Escalante. Go him. He's approaching teaching and learning in a whole different way, right? He's had many life experiences before getting to that space. And so if we can decrease stress, improve pro-social behaviors in our learning communities, it's going to benefit us as the teachers and our students and the collective well-being of all of us. So I really like this. I think I lean a lot on Susan Rock's work. It's called Minding Bodies: How Physical Space, Sensation, and Movement Affect Learning. So here we are as a PhD student in this comment, or this comic strip, how you see yourself, right? All these visions, and how most professors see you. So this brain on a stick here. So in the beginning of her book, Susan urges no more brains on sticks, right? She said, imagine if you at the start of your semester had required the students to complete this waiver at the start of class. It says, I understand over the next 15 weeks, this course will require me to remain seated for the class for 37.5 hours, plus an anticipated requirement of 75 hours of homework, to a total anticipated 112.5 hours. Sitting for this length of time has been linked to the following adverse health outcomes for which I will not hold responsible the instructor or institution: anxiety, depression, heart disease, breast and colon cancer, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, back pain, and so on. Right? So she goes on to say, it may be unfair to link these things to one college class, but think about it, right? Our students are in 5 classes, so multiply that by 5. So what are some things that we can put into place that not only serve our values as the teacher, that not only fit the context that we're learning in, but support the well-being of our students, right? Especially the ones that are coming to us at 7:15 at night after just feeding their 5 children, hanging on by their fingernails, trying to, take in all the information you're trying to teach them. So speaking of this, we are going to move our bodies a little bit. We're in a kind of a dark room. You can't see the outside. I want to share that I selected all of the activities I'm sharing with you today based on the top favorites from my students according to feedback surveys. So I had a lot to choose from. It was really hard to narrow for the scope of this presentation, but these were favorites of undergraduate students from the School of Teacher Education and Leadership. So if you don't like them, you can blame them, okay? All right, so we're gonna try a little movement activity, and this is called, oh wait, I wanted to say one more thing. Sorry about that. So bringing all of this full circle, we wanna think about this as embodied cognition. Now I'm not gonna claim to be a brain scientist or an expert in neuroscience, but we can look at this combined effort of the term embodied cognition to mean cognition, emotion, and behavior are all embodied and embedded in the brain and body as well as the environment. So thinking about how we create our learning spaces really impacts the students. Are we having them sit for prolonged periods of time? Do they get to engage with others? What does it look like? What time is your class? How many students? Where are they attending from? All of this looks different. So we want to link together the brain, the body, and the environment with a little bit of movement. So we're going to do something called kaleidoscope. This is a community connection building activity where you can enhance coordination, cultivate team spirit. So I invite you to stand up if it's comfortable for you to do so. You can also observe if you prefer. Now, mind you, I'm an elementary and early childhood educator. I would have everybody get in a big circle and sit on the floor and but we're just gonna, for the purpose of this, do what we're doing here. So I think this is great. First, what is a kaleidoscope? Can somebody tell me what it is? I love how this was a lot. Okay, so yeah. What does it do? Reflects light. There's different colors, shapes, patterns, right? So imagine we're in an airplane way up high in the sky and we're looking down. We would see these patterns moving, right? And if we were in a big circle, we would definitely see that. We're going to stay like this for now. So what we're going to do is one breath, one movement. And we're all going to mimic each other. And then I'm going to throw the baton to somebody and ask you to help lead us, okay? So again, we're going to move one movement with one inhale, another movement with an exhale, and we're just going to make different shapes with our body, imagining if we're an airplane looking down. All right? Everyone got that? Okay, here we go. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms touch your toes, or close-ish. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, arms out to the side, maybe even pat your neighbor hello. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms touch your shoulders. Can I have a volunteer take over? How about gentleman in the red shirt? I don't know your name. I would like to know your name. Yeah! Okay. Larry, inhale. Which way should we go? Inhale, ooh, sideways. Exhale, down. Okay, Larry, throw it to someone else. Gray hat. Inhale. Exhale. Bend your elbows. Okay.
Inhale, elbows together.
All right, everybody, give yourselves a round of applause. Go ahead and have a seat. So there was laughter, there was movement, right? We built relationship together, Larry. Thank you. And what's your name?
Me?
Yes. John. John and Larry, thank you for being called on and willing to participate. So you may ask the students quickly after that, how did it feel to do it as a community? What was it like to follow the leader? Really, this is just breaking up a class session. My students have said, when we come back for that mid-break, right around 8:15 at night, and they're sleepy and ready for the class session to really be over, we have a long session to go, they love the movement break. So I don't know if that speaks to any of you who may teach a later class, or perhaps you're teaching an 8 o'clock in the morning class and you may need a little bit of movement. So think about how that could serve you. You can also do lots of other movements. You don't have to do the kaleidoscope, but if you can get everyone in a circle, that's cool. I teach on Zoom most of the time, so you just see students' arms and sometimes just the middle of their body, and we get a good kick out of it, and it really increases community building and also enhances some focus. So what about the benefits for us, the teachers? Teachers with strong emotional competence build and maintain stronger relationships. They demonstrate higher levels of patience and empathy. I've had days where I had a snowstorm driving from Park City down to Salt Lake, and just getting to class in the nick of the time, feeling overwhelmed. This practice helped me calm and center and bring that joy back into the space. Teachers who teach SEL to students also felt more effective at managing behaviors and had lower levels of job-related anxiety. So when we think about if our students come to us with life happenings, because life happens, creating this space where you welcome their whole identity and how they're showing up, and opening up the space to understand that it's okay to not be okay. And sometimes our students are going to show up that way. Sometimes we are. That these types of activities and practices just create that calmer communication, and they're more comfortable to come to you to say, hey, listen, I need a hand. And yeah.
I know that this isn't possible for everybody's location, but Salt Lake, I'm also at Salt Lake Center. I had a really stressful semester one year. It was after some really bad idea evaluations, and I was really feeling very insecure about my teaching, and I just was having a hard semester. And I took one of the classrooms next to me was not occupied, and I would take 5, 10, whatever minutes before the class, before I was expected to be in there, and I would just go in there and do some meditation. I would just kind of get grounded, because it was a hard semester, and it made a big difference.
Well, I appreciate you sharing this experience with us, and perhaps there are people in here that can resonate with that. I certainly can, right? We need that space, we need that time to, and I just love the opening of our keynote speaker today to remind us, like, we can come up with strategies to help our students, but we also need to have strategies to help us. So thank you for being open and sharing that. So let's do a little bit of a mindful practice. I'm not going to make you stand again or call on you out of the blue. Instead, we're just going to do a little practice about thinking about motivation, okay? So this can improve focus, inspire vision, build confidence, so I invite you to close your eyes or cast a soft gaze, maybe even look at a focal point in the room. Do what serves you best. This is going to look different for all of us, and that is absolutely okay. So just get settled in. Maybe even give your shoulders a shrug up, back, and down. I like to do that a lot because we're on the computer so much, and it just feels good. Just start drawing attention to your breath. Maybe place one hand on your heart, another on your belly. If that feels good, place your hands wherever it works for you. And as you continue to deepen your breath, just reflect on what you want to accomplish right now. Say to yourself, I want to accomplish, and fill in the blank. Take another breath and sit with that. And now I want you to consider why, or the motivation behind this. What is driving you to want to accomplish that? Say to yourself, I want to accomplish blank because, or for, fill in those blanks. Take another deep breath in, sitting with that, your why. And with this purpose in mind, consider the actionable steps you need to take to accomplish that goal. Actually visualize yourself taking those steps as you move closer and closer towards accomplishing your goal. See yourself accomplishing that goal. Take a deep breath into this unique vision you've created for yourself. And exhale. One more deep, nourishing breath in. Maybe even give yourself a mantra of, I got this, or I can do this. And as you exhale, I invite you to open your eyes if they were closed. Even wiggle your fingers, give your shoulders a shrug. And just notice how that made you feel. So, questions you might ask students if you did that. How can our personal goals drive our actions? How does it feel to acknowledge yourself for what you truly want? This is really fun to do at the start of the semester and then at the end to see like what kinds of goals they set for themselves. The competencies that we're building there are self-awareness, responsible decision-making. Depending on your class dynamics, it looks different for all of us. It looks different from semester to semester. That's the beauty of teaching, right? Some people may feel calling to share their motivations. Maybe you don't have time for that in your learning space. But this practice doesn't take long, and it can inspire that motivation, creativity for students, and just let them know that you care about their motivations. So we're going to do one more get up and move, and this is called Think, Pair, Share over there. And the reason is because of embodied cognition, right? We need to get up and move in our spaces. We do a lot of turn and talk, turn to the person next to you, or for me it's, I'm going to put you in a breakout room on Zoom, right? So this can actually work well in Zoom too. When you say think, pair, share over there, you'll have the students stand and go somewhere, even if they're sitting in their living room, right? Have them get up and move to another space because we're enacting that body, that movement, that awareness. So we're gonna just find another person somewhere around in this space and take a few minutes to talk about what your challenge you face with engagement and motivation in your classroom is, and what is one goal you have for the semester. So think, pair, share over there. So you can just move around this space. Let's utilize where we can. If you need to scoot rows over or just get up and move, I invite you to do that. So think, pair, share over there. You can also be an active observer if you want, but I always encourage everyone to participate. I think pair, share over there has multiple benefits, right? You talk to people maybe you normally don't talk to. You got a little movement and blood moving. You may be engaged in conversation with people that you don't normally talk to, which in a classroom setup, students kind of sit in the same spaces, right? And they're always talking to the same people. So does anybody feel comfortable saying what their challenge and or goal is for the semester? Yes.
I think we shared one. Similarly, they just have so much going on in their lives. Overscheduled is how my new friend put it. Just so much going on in their lives that and they're excited and want to engage with this part of their life, but there's so much encroaching on it. And that's always. I mean, I've done this for 20-something years now, and that's always been the case. But now you add the digital stuff in, and it's just turbocharged it, I think. So we didn't really get too much to goals, but the goal is how do you work with that? I figure that out.
Well, first of all, tell me your name.
Derek.
Derek, thank you for sharing. And friend, your name is?
You want his name? Derek.
Yours.
Derek,
thank you for sharing. Thank you for opening up and letting us know, because I think a lot of us can shake our head yes and say yes. There's so much going on. And I think just starting to peel back those layers of the onion of just acknowledgement, right? That's so important for us to acknowledge, just like we have so much going on, right? Our to-do lists keep growing and growing. And maybe even just that acknowledgement will help validate and help the students. But thank you for sharing. Does anybody else have something they'd like to share? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to add on what
Yeah,
said.
please.
What we also talked about is just the peer engagement, not just the engagement with the professor, but the learning from each other is especially hard when they're overscheduled, and or if it's asynchronous remote instruction.
Yeah.
How do you have meaningful peer engagement?
Absolutely. I think this is a struggle we all face, especially now that things are evolving. I mean, we work at this fantastic university where we have so many options for students to attend from everywhere, right? And now there's going to be even more of that. And so that's going to test our boundaries and also the boundaries of our students. And so being cognizant of that, I think, is our first step, right? I'm aware that it's going to be hard to engage with a peer when you're the only person in this site and there's 10 people who are buddies in that site, right? They look like they're having a good time over there and they're all talking and I'm by myself over here, right? So if we create spaces to acknowledge, I think that's the first stepping stone, right? So there is a lot that we can do to acknowledge, validate, help our students feel that sense of belonging. After you do a think, pair, share activity, perhaps you're talking about some content or topic in your course, you may want to do something called weather report. So you can check in with them by dropping 2 words in the chat that describe how you feel, what your weather report is. So let's say sunny and partly cloudy. Would anyone like to share what their weather report feels like after doing that activity? 2 words. Really foggy, okay. And that is valid, right? It is okay. So This, again, it creates a space for our students to see each other, right? Some people may be having a sunny day, and some people may be foggy. And that just builds that empathy and helps us understand, right? We are showing up to this space in a different way, and that is absolutely okay. So we're going to close up with something called thankful thoughts. So one more mindfulness practice. This one is really for you, but you can definitely do it with your students. I've had a lot of different feedback with this practice. You cultivate gratitude, calm your mind, relax your body. So as you are seated in a comfortable space, I invite you to close your eyes and or cast a soft gaze, or look at a focal point, whatever serves you in your body right now in this moment. And just take a few nourishing breaths in, focusing on the inhales and exhales, the rise and fall of your bellies. And as you continue to breathe, begin to visualize one person in your life you are particularly grateful for right now. Visualize their face smiling at you, and exhale, send this person your smile. Take a deep breath of gratitude in, and exhale, sending that person a silent thank you. Now bring another person to mind in your life you're particularly grateful for right now. Visualize their face smiling at you, and exhale, send this person your smile. Take a deep breath of gratitude in, and exhale, sending them a silent thank you. Now bring your attention to as many people that you are grateful for right now. Visualize all their faces smiling at you, and exhale, send the people back your smile. Take a deep breath of gratitude in, and exhale, sending them your thank you. Take one more deep, nourishing breath in, and exhale some gratitude out into this learning community. And as you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes if they were closed. Maybe give yourself a little wiggle. Notice how that made you feel. I like to ask students after that if there's anybody they want to share, and sometimes this is an opening to get to know why they're grateful for someone or something. And that really invites this community, this space that just nourishes that feeling of gratitude. And I've had students also say, wow, I forgot how many people I have supporting me right now. You know, they may have showed up for a really hard day and having a really hard day, but then they brought that back. So I hope that you found that practice to be helpful in some way. The CASEL competencies we focused on are social awareness, relationship skills. Maybe the practice shifted your mood, maybe it didn't. That's okay. However it served you, that is okay. So as we're closing up shop today, we practiced a variety of things, some gratitude, collective breaths. Instead of stability, we did kaleidoscope, but stability is another one where you stand up kind of like a yogic posture, and you could stand with a community and create a tree pose. Where the students can work together as a community. Think, pair, share over there, thankful thoughts. Take a minute to just think about how will you foster social and emotional well-being in your classroom? Maybe even jot down a few notes. Are there any strategies that you might try that you learned here today, or strategies that you might adapt for your context, for your pedagogical values, for your student-centered learning needs? You choose what works for you. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share about something they might try in their learning spaces from today? I'd love to hear from you. Yes?
I'm Scott.
Hi, Scott.
So I teach math 2250 in the spring, so it's a nighttime class, 8 to 10.
Oh, I feel you.
Combined together. So I usually try to take a break from the middle anyway. I think it'd be fun to get them to get up and move. Because all these people trying to be scientists.
Yeah.
Move with their bodies would be kind of fun just to try out.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Yes.
I'm teaching human osteology anthropology course studying the body and skeleton. And it's late afternoon, evening, and I really like the kaleidoscope one. You get them moving, but also then I could prompt my students to think about what bones are you moving? How are they moving?
100%. Tell me your name.
Wesley.
Wesley, thank you for sharing. I love it. You can incorporate content with some of this movement. Another person. Yes.
So I often, every 10, 15 minutes, would take a moment to just say, hey, turn to your neighbor. What was the major points that we covered? But they're not moving.
Yeah.
So they use how can I include movement into that to get them at least some of the time, because it will disrupt, it'll take a little more time, but they move before they do that.
Yeah.
It is benefits.
Wonderful. I appreciate you sharing. I think that is one of the things that we have to consider, always transition, right? I don't have a lot. I have one of the courses I teach is so stacked with content, we barely have time to squeeze anything else in. So once you get in the rhythm of it's think, pair, share over their time, go to your space, we need to chop, get it done, then those transitions become natural. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I think it's important for us to think about that. Yes.
Amanda, I can't remember the name of it, but I use this online quiz app that the students can, so I ask a question and they put it in and it creates like the clouds.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I really like the idea of like, how are you feeling today? Or the weather report.
Yes.
Where they can put it in and it's anonymous, but the rest of the class can kind of see and like, are there some patterns here we're seeing? Like,
Yes. Poll everywhere is a good one for the word cloud.
That's what I use.
Yeah. I have, our department has a subscription to Pear Deck, and so you can put the screen up that has the 9 sheep that are looking all funky, right? The hair, whatever. Which one are you today? Just to kind of see like, all right, everybody's showing up in this space differently, and it's okay, right? Well, I am so grateful that you all chose this session to attend today. I appreciate learning alongside you. I also like getting to know people and welcome the opportunity to continue conversation. So thank you so much. I wish you a great ETE conference and start of your school year.
Thank you.